Okay, so let's rewind to November 2022. A tool drops seemingly out of nowhere, and it feels like something straight out of science fiction. ChatGPT. It could write poetry, debug code, explain quantum mechanics. It was an absolute sensation. So, how did this thing change everything practically overnight? Let's get into it. And it wasn't just us regular folks freaking out. Even the big wigs in Silicon Valley, people who see new tech literally every single day, were completely stunned. Paul Graham, the guy who founded Y Combinator, knew this wasn't just another shiny new app. No, this was different. This was a seismic shift. But that sense of wonder, it didn't take long for it to get a little more complicated. Because hiding just beneath that brilliant surface was a really big problem, a fundamental flaw that makes us question everything about trust and truth in this new age of AI. All right, so first things first, let's go back to that initial explosion. Why did ChatGPT just completely capture the world's imagination? I mean, the media reaction was just electric. The New York Times flat out called it the best AI chatbot ever released. And for the first time, basically anyone could have a real conversation with a machine that felt, well, human. It could generate this incredibly detailed, nuanced, and coherent text on pretty much any topic you could throw it at. It really did feel like magic, right? But of course, it's not. It's the result of this incredibly complex, super resource-intensive process. So what exactly is going on behind the curtain? How did OpenAI actually build this thing? Okay, so let's actually pull back that curtain and see how the model is trained. It's a pretty fascinating process, and it involves not just machines, but, and this is key, a whole lot of people. So this slide breaks down the whole method, which has a fancy name, reinforcement learning from human feedback. Here's how it works. First, you've got humans literally pretending to be both the user and the AI, just to create some starter conversations. Then, for step 2, the humans become teachers. They look at a bunch of different AI-generated answers and rank them, from best to worst. Finally, all that feedback gets used to build what's called a reward model. This whole human-in-the-loop thing is absolutely crucial. It's what teaches the AI to give answers that aren't just grammatically correct, but are actually helpful and, what we really want. So, what's it learning from? Well, just a staggering amount of text. Think of it like a giant snapshot of the internet. It swallowed the entirety of Wikipedia, tons of software manuals, and just vast, vast amounts of text from across the web. That's where its incredible range comes from. But there's a part of this training that doesn't get talked about as much. To stop the AI from spitting out really awful toxic stuff, OpenAI had to hire outsourced workers to go through and label all that harmful content. We're talking about people, some paid as little as $2 an hour, who had to look at really disturbing things just to build the safety filters we all take for granted. Okay, so after all that training, what can this thing actually do? The answer is pretty much anything you can think of that involves words. Let's just dive into the universe of applications it's opened up. Man, the list of what it can do is just wild. You're a programmer and you've been stuck on some buggy code for hours? Bam, it can find the fix in seconds. You want to compose a symphony like Mozart or draft a screenplay? It can give you a shockingly good start. From translating languages on the fly to summarizing super dense documents to brainstorming business ideas, it can even simulate a whole Linux computer right there in the chat window. It's like a Swiss Army knife for pretty much anything. But here's the thing. To really get the good stuff out of it, you can't just ask a lazy question. The secret sauce is all in the prompt. A really well-crafted prompt is the difference between a meh answer and a mind-blowing one. And the best ones? They usually have two parts. You give the AI a role to play, and then you give it a super clear task. Check out this example, it's perfect. Instead of just asking, how do I get better at design, you assign a role. You are a senior UX design mentor. See that? Then you define a very specific task about a weekly routine for mobile iOS designs. That level of detail just focuses the AI and gets you a way higher quality, actually useful response. This is where it's an absolute powerhouse, as a generator of creative, structured text. So, we've got this amazingly powerful, super versatile tool. But this is where the story takes a sharp turn. Because for all of its genius, ChatGPT has a massive problem, a real ghost in the machine. It's a phenomenon that developers call hallucination, And what that means is the AI, with all the confidence in the world, just makes stuff up. It will state complete nonsense and misinformation as if it's a cold, hard fact. And it's incredibly convincing when it does it. This is honestly my favorite way to think about why this happens. The sci-fi author Ted Chiang called it a blurry JPEG of the web. And that's such a perfect analogy. It's not a perfect copy, it's a compressed approximation. And you know how when you overcompress a photo, you get weird artifacts and made-up details? Well, that's what ChatGPT does with text. It's just filling in the gaps. And sometimes it fills them with pure fiction. So how big of a deal is this really?
Well, let's just look at one number, 58%.
And here's where that number comes from. A 2024 study dug into the legal field. They asked leading AI models, including GPT-4, direct questions about U.S. federal court cases, stuff you can easily verify. And the models hallucinated, meaning they got it wrong or just made it up, 58% of the time. Think about that, more than half. That is a frankly terrifying error rate for a tool people are starting to treat as a source of truth.
So this kind of brings us to where we are now. We've got this incredible tool, but it's also profoundly unreliable. How are we supposed to deal with that?
This right here is the absolute key to understanding all of this. ChatGPT looks and feels like a factual database, right? Like a super encyclopedia you can chat with. But what it actually is under the hood is a text predictor. That's it. A really, really fancy one, but a text predictor all the same. This is probably the single most important thing to remember. It doesn't know anything. It doesn't know that Paris is the capital of France. What it knows is that after reading billions of sentences, the word that is most statistically likely to come after the phrase, the capital of France is the word Paris. It's a machine that runs on probability, not on truth. And that leaves us with a massive challenge, doesn't it? We have this tool that can boost our creativity and productivity like nothing before, but we can't trust it to be truthful. It's like having a brilliant co-pilot who is also a compulsive liar. So the question we all have to grapple with is this: how are we going to learn to tell the difference?